Hello, welcome to episode 17 of FPL the Onion. I am Ash and we've got the normal duo tonight. Nick, how are things?
Very good, thank you, Mr. Shlee. Very good. We have COVID in our house again. My wife has tested positive for it. My boys and I haven't yet, but it's around. It's still there, and it's funny. I told somebody from work today on a call, and they said, "Oh, I've kind of forgotten it was a thing."
He says coughing into the Teams microphone.
Yeah, coughing and having a drink.
Yeah. I'm not 100% either. Unfortunately, we were thinking of maybe cancelling this tonight, so it's going to be probably a short one. Although we have said that before. But yeah, if I'm not quite my enthusiastic self, which I did say last week, and what an idiot. Yeah, really enthusiastic after a week off, coming in, 2 green arrows, and then this was not a good game week. So it could be that Son has made me ill, or maybe I'm just ill and I'm annoyed about Son, but either way I'm feeling a bit low. Okay, anyway.
Sorry to hear that, mate. Yeah, we'll definitely get into the Son thing, but I hope you guys feel better soon as well.
Yeah, nice. Thanks. And yeah, same to you guys. Yeah, I'm already feeling a bit hot actually. What can people do if they want to join our league, Nick?
We only have 3 game weeks left, but the league code is on screen now, so it's 0NPH6D, and we're obviously hoping to bolster the numbers ahead of next season. And I think you'd be automatically added back next season, but we'll put out a new code when the game relaunches. But yeah, there's still a curly whirly up for grabs. I think I've moved slightly further ahead again. But yeah, there's certainly somebody could add themselves to the league and jump ahead of me and win a curly whirly.
Absolutely. I think the gap now between us is about 200 points. Maybe it was about that last week as well, although we got quite similar scores. So yeah, you certainly jumped quite ahead. It's quite scary.
Yeah, that's a big gap now. I think it might be over Shlee that.
Yeah. I have to go and buy my own blooming curly whirly.
But I've never beaten you 2 seasons in a row, so next season I'm sure you'll be
Is that
back.
right?
In fact, did I beat you that season, like a couple of seasons ago when I had a top 10k finish? Did I finish above you then?
I can't remember. I'm not sure of our head-to-head on that. I had my worst season, I think it was last season or the season before, and I think I'm unfortunately going to beat that in the wrong way. But I'm not sure how you did.
You'll be back next season, my friend.
What content have you listened to this week?
I've listened to Planet FPL. I can't remember I listened to all of it. Again, it's just the timing of it. I think I listened to some of Andy's knee-jerk stream. I noticed that the Scoutcast is now calling their Sunday stream the knee-jerk stream as well. So
yeah, that's right. Is it FPL of the Day or something does that? I did start to listen to that. I've listened to Planet FPL as well, and the knee-jerk with Andy, and then also Gianni's one on Scout was quite good. Did you listen to all of Planet FPL?
I'm trying to remember if I got right to the end. Maybe I didn't. It's been a pretty busy start to the week, so I don't think. I think also I listened to. Oh, that's right. I listened on Monday. I had a little drive on Monday evening. I was going to pick up a trampoline for the kids that we'd bought online, and so I had a drive into into Slough, which was interesting, and I listened to Planet FPL. I was thinking I was going to be able to listen to their episode, but obviously it was Bank Holiday Monday. But James had either pre-recorded or recorded that day. Welcome back to the Premier League for Fulham.
Oh yeah,
which was really interesting. And they're obviously talking about Mitrovic and talking about different, the differences in styles of the managers. And I hadn't realised how maligned Scott Parker was at Fulham towards the end of his time there. I thought he'd by all accounts done a pretty decent job, but and Marco Silva, they've been absolutely incredible. So I think finally Mitrovic is the kind of player that I would generally try and avoid at the start of a new season, just to see how he gets on. And obviously he's had a few goes at it, but I think maybe this, depending on his price, this might be the season where he is very worth getting from the start, I guess, depending on fixtures, but could be interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to listen to that. I did see that pop in, and it was quite scary already thinking about next season. But yeah, people are already saying on Twitter like, oh, if he's 6.5, that's a bargain. Yeah, but if he's 7.5, they might, price him a bit higher because he scored 46 goals. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and I think because of the dearth of forwards this season, I wouldn't be surprised if people are shocked at actually how high he is. I wouldn't be surprised if they price him at like 8 million just because of his pedigree. But I guess Tony had a fantastic season in the Championship last year, and I think it was he's 6.5 when he started. So
yeah, he was. And given the dearth of forwards this year, are they gonna try and rip up the kind of mechanics a little bit and make it easier to get useful strikers by pricing them cheaper? We will see. The reason I ask
conscious
about
that we want to try and keep it short, but we should probably maybe on next week's pod talk about, there's been a lot of talk about potential changes to FPL, and be interesting to get your take on that at some point. But
yeah, there's been quite a lot on Twitter, isn't there? It's been quite interesting. Just before we move on, Planet FPL, it just reminded me. I just found myself laughing a bit to the first 3 minutes, which I listened to the whole thing during a run. Sudge and James could not have been at each other more in terms of disagreement. They were like they eventually went off on one about Nketiah with each other. That Sudge just thought he was awful, and James thought he had a great game. But the first few minutes, they were quite like narky with each other. It's quite funny, and I was like, "Is this going to spill over into a bit of a live argument?" But I guess they spend quite a lot of time with each other, and they just get on with it.
Yeah, it's funny because when they occasionally try and finish each other's sentences, they end up saying the complete opposite to each other.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, I thought you were going," and then as you say, it's funny. Funny guys.
Right. Until Sunday, I was beating you, but on Monday, Man U came to the rescue a little bit, but I don't know if rescue is the right word. Yeah, tell us about your week.
Oh, yeah, it was. They could write an epic trilogy of movies about this game week. I don't think anybody would watch it, but yeah, I mean, I guess the first thing was the Salah benching. I was kind of 3 minutes to 11. I had my captaincy on Coutinho. In the end, it didn't really matter. It was a swing of 2 points, but I was just ahhing about that, and I was watching Andy's deadline stream, and I just thought, they're not going to bench him against Newcastle. It's a tough game. And then that's exactly what they did. And they benched him and Trent. And obviously benching Trent when I've only got Robertson was great. That was very welcome. But the fact that I'd captained Salah, and then all the way I went to see some friends, in fact, friends that you know very well, Shlee, as well. We went to watch the Swindon Barrow game on Saturday. And one of our friends he's a big Liverpool fan. And when I arrived at the pub, I was just trying to make narratives that, Salah's not going to come on. He's not going to be needed. Even if they're 3-0 up, he's not going to come on. And he was just saying, well, he'll probably come on so that they can rest one of the other players. And I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So on he came, obviously, but in the end, it didn't matter. I mean, I kind of wish that I'd stuck with my gut, which was to captain Ronaldo. And obviously I was put off by the Brentford fixture, but it's Ronaldo at Old Trafford, and so it proved he got a goal, and he could have had another as well. So yeah, obviously that was a bit of a killer for me right from the off. Then I'm trying to remember what else happened.
How come you didn't vice Ronaldo then?
Coutinho, no, it's a good point. Well, that's the thing. I kind of, as you put on the screen, my transfers being Schär and Havertz to Alonso Coutinho, I was thinking that Havertz might be benched, although I didn't necessarily buy into the fact that he would definitely be benched, because it didn't make sense in terms of the run of fixtures that they had. It's much more likely that they rest players for that Leeds game, although that could be risky, I think. But yeah, so I just thought I'll bring Alonso in, because I just thought the game against Everton looked good for a clean sheet. And again, he's just been so attacking. So I didn't want to kind of bet against that again. And I just couldn't stop looking at that Coutinho Norwich fixture and just thinking I can see him getting a couple of goals and an assist in this, even though they've been in really bad form. But yeah, but when I brought Coutinho in, again, it's that thing where when you take a hit to make a transfer, you think I'll kind of almost counteract it by putting the captaincy on them.
Yeah.
So I think because the transfers were all about getting Coutinho in, really. I had the captaincy on him from the moment I made that transfer. I think I made it on the Friday night. And then, as I say, I switched it to Salah kind of a couple of minutes before deadline. But yeah, now that I've got Coutinho in and he didn't do anything against Norwich, I'm really annoyed with myself, obviously, for having him in, because I'm going to get him on the free hit in 37 anyway. His double's not the best in 36, and his 38 fixture is basically bench him for that. So I think he may even. I don't think he's going to go for me, but because I can't. We'll chat later about potential transfers, but yeah, now just the fact that he blanked in that Norwich game, that's really why I got him in for that game, and it just wasn't to be. And then I guess the other thing then to talk about is Son on Sunday, because I think it's the first time I've been on the end of such a hiding, I think, this season, which shows how lucky I've been this season, because I've certainly not owned players who had good fixtures and could have gone big. But obviously after I captained him against Villa and he got the hat trick, he then blanked the next game. I can't remember who that was against. And then I actually, probably partly because of that blank, but also massively because of the Chelsea double, thought I can upgrade Martinelli, who'd just been benched for Arsenal. And I thought I can upgrade Martinelli and, get in Mount and Havertz. But it's one of those things in this game. I think we need to learn these lessons where if a player like Son is in the form he's in, his fixtures weren't quite as good. But I just think this season's been mad. There've been so many doubles, but we just need to, it looks really silly now to have taken Son out. And obviously Martinelli, compounded it by getting an assist this weekend. But I think I'd be hugely, hugely up, because I almost certainly would have captained Son. I wouldn't have gone for Coutinho. And yeah, I guess again, it's hindsight, because Spurs had, they hadn't registered a shot on goal in their last two games, but I'm pretty sure with that Leicester fixture that if I'd kept Son, I would have capped.
Yeah,
the difference could have been huge, absolutely huge. I think I probably would have been in like top 3. I'd kept Son and captained him. So yeah, big lessons, I think. But I'm actually feeling okay. I mean, before the United game, I dropped to around 2,000. Maybe I think I was like 1,900th. So actually, for Ronaldo and De Gea to spring me back up to within touching distance of the top 1,000 again, I think it makes it a lot easier pill to swallow. But it was a tough game week.
Yeah, my thoughts exactly about Coutinho. I think I hate him, and Son, I definitely hate him. But yeah, in hindsight, maybe. But I think I was just trying to be too clever. And I think you talked about lessons learned. I think I have actually myself thought I need to change the way I monitor transfers for people that it's almost like this person is a 99% buy in a few game weeks or in a certain game week unless something massive changes. And I think when I was on the wrong side of the Son Kane thing from like game week 28ish, I think I should have written down that the next opportunity to get Son in, because they had those couple of tricky fixtures, and yeah, like you say, the Chelsea mids were a bit more flavour of the month, and we kind of probably were up on that given we did captain Havertz and he got something in a game week otherwise with quite a lot of blanks on the captains. They've just got to come in. And why I thought, I was chatting last week and listened to part of the episode last week about a -8 involving KDB, Son and Watkins, which would have easily paid off. That would have been amazing. So I definitely need to learn from that. And Cancelo a few weeks ago was quite similar. The deadline where I did Trent to James, although ironically he was kind of in that bracket as well. The next opportunity to get him kind of thing.
But I know. I was just thinking of him when you said that. Yeah, so different.
But it is probably a bit different because he was a rotation risk, and at that point that was a doubling up on Chelsea because I did have Thiago Silva. I should have just gone Cancelo, the sort of boring pick, and in a way Son was a bit of a boring blocking pick, but it just shows if you get on the wrong end of it. But then again, that 19 versus 6 point swing for people who have Kane, and that's the people I feel really sorry for. That is pretty nasty in 1 week to get that much of a swing.
It is, but I think. Do you want to bring your game week up? I agree with that. Except you mentioned James. I was thinking of him as you said that if, and it's all hindsight, but if Son doesn't get a 19 pointer this week, then we're all thinking, well, okay, Coutinho didn't do anything, Salah captain didn't work out, but it hasn't hurt us that badly. And then you're debating whether to, you're not thinking of getting him in before this potentially challenging double they've got. Although I remember you sent me a really great video about that this week about the last time they played Liverpool. But
yeah,
everyone jumped to get James back in 31. I took Trent out to get James back in. He has been an absolute disaster since then. You say it's different because he's a rotation risk. That's right. But he's incredibly explosive, isn't he? And yet he just hasn't done anything since then.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Maybe it is hindsight a bit, but I think Son had been like that for so long, so good that I think that versus Coutinho is a bit more clear.
Yeah, true. I mean, I could have, again, with hindsight, I wouldn't. And this is the other thing maybe we need to learn is I wouldn't have done this, but sensible transfers might have been, and I did consider it for a moment, but I don't think I would have done it, was to get Son back in and to, take out Mount Havertz and go Mount down to, even Jacob Ramsey, because I thought he had the Norwich fixture. Obviously, he didn't do anything either, but obviously that would have been massive if I'd done that. As I said, I'd probably be in the top 500. So
yeah,
huge.
A few other things I didn't do great this week. I mean, this was actually my worst game week rank of the season, which it didn't feel like normally if you asked me how it went after a game week and I hadn't looked at the game week rank, I'd be like, this was awful and definitely the worst one. But I felt I actually got quite a few things right apart from Son this week. The Salah captain, I was kind of glad I went against the big EO there. What was he, won 40%, and I just didn't think that Newcastle game was great. And obviously when I saw his bench, I was delighted. Coutinho obviously didn't come in, not great. But then other bad things, Martinelli I got rid of. He seemed to be a rotation risk in getting benched. He got a cheeky assist, and I got my keepers the wrong way round, which I stupidly didn't look at on my ticker what way round I should do them, and that's not always the gospel for me. But De Gea's fixture was much more white than it was red, whereas Ramsdale was quite tricky. So maybe again in hindsight I should have done that, but especially as this will probably be the last time I'm going to play De Gea this season. Sometimes I have a bit of a, one last hurrah kind of thing.
So
that's a bit annoying. So yeah, really bad. 37 -4. So I had 2 green arrows, and I was quite enthusiastic last week, and now a really bad one. So cheers.
What was your game week rank?
I think it was 7.5 mil.
Yeah, mine was 5.8, and I've just looked, and it's my worst of the season by 800,000 places. So
is it? I thought you'd had a worse one when the Salah blimmin' penalty miss against Leicester. What was it? Game week 20.
Game week. Oh, sorry. No, you're right. I hadn't even spotted that. Yeah, you're right. 7.5 million. Yeah. Just shows what captaincy penalty miss will do for you, doesn't it? But
that was a nightmare.
I think I probably looked at that number and hoped it was 750,000, but probably not.
Okay, let's move on. Probably most of these slides will be pretty quick, and then we'll get into the meat of what we're doing next week. This was quite interesting though. The 140% EO for Salah. This is all from Rugaboli's site. The fact that look at that captain distribution in the bottom right. Top 5 captains. 1, 6, 0, and 3 points, and then Son with 19. So it was just a mad week to get that.
Yeah. And
then the fact that only only 50% of the top 10k have got a free hit left. So we think we're maybe quite fortunate to have it, but a lot of chips are going to get played, and obviously we've played bench boost, but 40% of people have still got to drop that. So we're going to be fighting against the bench boosters this week for sure, aren't we?
Yeah, I think there'll be a lot of people, and there's a few people I've spoken to who don't have the bench boost anymore, but they're telling me how many, they got 13, 14 doublers, and they haven't even really planned for it. I'm like,
right.
So there'll be I think anyone who's got the bench boost is playing it this week.
Yeah. Did you see on Twitter there was one person in the top 10k that's got 4 chips left to play in 3 weeks?
Really, that's insane. There's somebody who's like 7th who's still got 3 chips to play.
Oh, wow.
So
yeah.
Was Trent not in that list? Because I thought that I saw Live FPL tweet straight after deadline, or when the Liverpool team news came out, and they said that Salah and Trent were like 1 and 2, and maybe that was overall rather than just the top 10k, but they were like they're the most captained.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, I didn't see that, and the fact he's not 30% on this list. I didn't do the whole list, but that does seem a bit low, doesn't it, for him? Maybe a lot of people have ditched him since that. The injury back in 31ish.
Yeah.
A knock. But yeah, actually as well, looking at Son, the only double digiter in the top 15 players. Brutal.
Yeah. Indeed.
I haven't updated the colours here, but I just put the fixtures in. No, I haven't actually. I haven't done this one right. Sorry. That still shows 35 for defence. Are you thinking of defensive moves this week at all?
I am thinking of a defensive move this week, yes.
Okay.
Let me see where Liverpool land in these doubles. I'm sure you're gonna try and talk me out of this, Shlee, but I've got some big plans.
Okay, right, let's get on to that. Tactica is right from 36. I did tweet just before coming on that I just randomly looked. If you add up what Cancelo and Salah got in there against the current opponents for this week earlier in the season, Cancelo got 25 points and Salah only got 10.
Wow.
It was a mad one for Cancelo. I think it was the game. What was it? He was playing right back for sort of the whole season. That was the first game he played at left back, or whichever way around. He's a bit more potent, and he got a goal and assist and a clean sheet. And then the other one got 7 or something. So an 18 and a 7 was a crazy week. I just thought it was quite interesting because if you look at this, although they're blue for Liverpool, and I think most people are going Salah, there's no bold fixtures there, so you're probably not expecting a lot of goals, whereas obviously Cancelo's a defender, so you're not necessarily thinking he's going to get something attacking at Man City, but that City Newcastle game on paper looks like it might be a bit more 3 or 4-0 maybe, but maybe it depends how tonight goes. We're obviously recording during the Real Madrid City game, still 0-0.
Yeah, and it also depends because again Newcastle have been better defensively, although when you look at I think they were decent defensively against Liverpool, but their defense was good against kind of lower level opposition or kind of lower table opposition. But when you look at it on paper, because my captaincy I think is on Salah as well, because it's just Salah in a double, and I triple captained Salah in his double in 26, and obviously that went amazingly well. But Tottenham is not an easy fixture for Liverpool. Conte is going to make it difficult for them. They're going to be hitting them on the break. They're going to be making them run backwards as well. And then Villa away. Villa's defense has been, by all accounts, very strong this season. Obviously, they got Digne back. I think that probably does help them more defensively than people think about Digne offensively. But it's not that easy. I am still thinking if I am to bring in a Spurs player, I might captain. It seems like it's going against the grain, and I don't think many people will do it because they'll see Liverpool and Arsenal. But I think Liverpool play such a high line. That video that you sent to me, and you sent a video showing highlights of Tottenham versus Liverpool from earlier in the season, which I think finished 2-2. The number of chances that Tottenham had, and obviously Liverpool had that pretty dodgy first half against Villarreal, which shows that either they're tired or they're thinking about what's at stake now in all of these games. If Tottenham get in their faces and have a few chances or maybe get an early goal in that Liverpool game, who knows what that might do to Liverpool's confidence.
Yeah.
Because again, every single minute of every game now for Liverpool is massive. They have the opportunity to make history. I don't think any team has ever played every game of the season, which they're now going to do.
Oh, is that right? Wow, that's a good stat.
Yeah, apparently nobody's ever reached all finals in the season. So, but yeah, I might captain a Spurs player against Liverpool and Arsenal and just see what happens in the Liverpool game, and then you get what you get from Arsenal. But it seems mad when Salah's doing what he's doing. But I don't know. I just feel like I kind of want to attack now. Maybe it's just because I've had a bad game week and I just want to throw caution to the wind. But
you were saying last week that for you 5k isn't a big difference to 8k, say, or if you really go for it, but you do have a chance to maybe get to the 500, and then that would be pretty crazy couple of final weeks. I don't think what you said is insane, although the bit I was surprised about is when you said I'm going to bring in a Tottenham player and captain him. I thought you were going to say bring in a City player and captain him, because surely on paper there, especially with the Newcastle game, okay, yeah, they're better defensively, but that is more at home. Is KDB
the issue I've
Son.
got, and this is another really big choice. This is kind of a big transfer choice. Maybe let's get to it later. But I would love to bring in KDB and captain him. I don't necessarily think that I think he'll definitely have minutes managed, basically. Let's put it that way in those games. I don't think he'll play 90 minutes in both games, but that would be the one that he'd be the one I'd want to get and captain. but I prefer Spurs game week 38 fixture. I'm planning to free hit in 37. So then suddenly I don't like the City Villa fixture really. I mean, I think they'll win, but I don't think they'll win by as much as Spurs will beat Norwich.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I'd want to be transferring then. I'd want to be then transferring KDB out for Son in 38. So,
but what's wrong with that? Sorry, if you did get as in okay, but you're just booking in a transfer, and you might want to do something else a bit freer on 38, having Son
maybe, but I mean, it is an option, and that's the other way potentially to do it. I guess even KDB will be going against the grain against Salah. I think Salah will be over 100%.
Yeah.
But I just think, I mean, that's the thing. I don't love the Wolves fixture as well. I know there's talk of kind of rifts behind the scenes that Planet FPL were kind of alluding to, and I think from what you've seen from them, that does kind of make sense because they have kind of fallen off a cliff. So I think, that's the other way potentially. I mean, with transfer plans when we get to it, that is another way to go, I think.
Interesting. I have thought a lot, I'm sure as you have, about Son in, but I never had thought about captaining. But now you say it, it's sticking with me a bit. That would be pretty mad differential. I mean, yeah.
Well, given that video that you sent me, the number of chances that Son had, and you think in the finishing form that he's in, I mean, he's been amazing, hasn't he? The last few game weeks. So, certainly last, and then the last 5 game weeks he's been amazing. Maybe not the last 3, but yeah.
All being well, we'll be dropping the free hit probably Saturday night. I think the deadline's 3 o'clock on Saturday, which is a bit of a strange one. Sorry, kickoff's at 3, deadline will be 1:30, I guess. So after those, we'll be pulling the trigger. I updated this a little bit just with a few players I'd seen discussed and a few less question marks. I think this is maybe 0.2 over budget for me, but you can probably get quite close to it. Mark Gay from Palace maybe is a cheap enabler at the back. But a lot of people, I was kind of surprised not going with Chelsea defence, but maybe the uncertainty of that, and if they are on a bit of bad form, maybe that's not a bad idea. And I've added Vardy and Ings as potentials, but it's pretty similar to how it was last week, really. Much change on your mind with that, or have you not thought about it at all?
I haven't thought about it a huge amount, actually. I think my biggest concern with free hit 37, which I am definitely doing, but my biggest concern is that I'll free hit out most of my team and I'll bring in all these doublers from Villa, Palace, Everton. I don't think I'll have many. I might have Pope, I guess, but the players that we'll be taking out, I mean, they've shown regularly they could outscore these players. You think about Coutinho. I mean, we're like, okay, great, let's get him in. It looks like a really nice double. They're both at home, but he's just blanked at home to Norwich. So
sure,
it's pretty scary, especially given that I'm almost more stressed about free hit 37 than I am about game week 36 potentially taking a -8 and not captaining Salah, because it could go so much more could go wrong in 37 with these teams that if they don't have the free hit, they just have good single game week players who from the top teams, and the variance could be absolutely massive, and that is the thing that could kill my hopes of the top 1K is that free hit going wrong.
But what singlers are you taking out that you're worried about? We've got a sprinkling of singlers in there. Saka would be one. I guess Ronaldo's going this week. Chelsea defence, but I don't know.
I see what you mean, because in your draft you've got Salah and Son, and that's the thing. When I do start to consider it more closely, probably in the next few days, then I think it's you need to keep the most dangerous players, don't you? And then go, because you're going massively differential by being a free hit anyway. So I think you need to keep your anchors. I think you need to keep your Salahs and your Sons and
exactly
and your Robertsons. So I think and your Cancelo. So I think that's sensible.
The one person that's not in here that could hurt us is KDB, and James was saying that the West Ham game Thursday night, Europa League game tomorrow is one of the most important games of the season, because if they're focused on that final, they could field a really weak team against West Ham and City could obliterate them. And at the moment, I've only got Cancelo in there, so Yeah,
Mm.
that might be tricky. Well, it's going to be very tricky to get him in. Yeah, you're on free hit, but getting 3 big hitters might be quite tough.
Yeah, and you don't want to lose Salah against Southampton or Son against Burnley at home. Although, James, I know he's a pessimistic Spurs fan, but he thinks that they'll really struggle against Burnley, doesn't he? So
Does he? Oh, right.
yeah, they were saying that if that's why I think Serge was thinking he really wants Pope, because he thinks that with Burnley fighting for their lives in this kind of 3-way battle with Everton and Leeds, that he thinks Pope in that double could be amazing.
Oh, okay, interesting. Thing is, I don't see Spurs struggling to score. I see Villa maybe struggling to score, but I don't know. Looking at goalkeepers, you want 2 teams that struggle to score, but maybe have quite a few shots. I don't know. I feel Brentford and Palace maybe a bit better there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's the thing. Pickford with his masterclass against Chelsea could be a good time to get him, I think.
Yeah.
Have you thought much about free hit 36, or what you would have done if you had free hit in 36?
A little bit, only because I think Late Rise is doing it this week, isn't he? Did you see that?
I think he is, yeah.
And he's not got similar-ish teams to us, but it's not too dissimilar. So I was a bit surprised at that. I think they're probably jumping, if we go back to the fixtures, they're jumping on City. Maybe he's only got 1 City and he wants to go triple. I don't know if he's got Son, but maybe he wants him. But yeah, it just doesn't. I've got 10 doublers already. I feel like I've got most of the players I'd like, whereas next week I feel I haven't got many of them at all, and that's exactly what a free hit before. And the doubles are in weird teams, so.
And this is the thing, because I'd love to see what Late Rise's team. I mean, I guess I could find out generally, but I'd love to see what his team is going to look like for 37, or unless he's thinking just those, the teams that are doubling are not teams that you would want.
Yeah.
It seems to me a big risk, because if 37 goes well and those teams do perform well, then that could be massive, couldn't it, for people who don't free hit, because they just can't get anywhere near those teams, and they wouldn't want to, because they've generally got pretty bad 38 fixtures as well.
Yeah, agreed. And 3 revisions of the maths hopefully proves eventually I've got it right, but the swing was about 15 to 20 points ish, so could be on the unlucky side of variance. And yeah, City go big this week, and I don't know, maybe he'll be getting in, Schmeichel maybe go big. We're not going to have him, and go early on some Everton players. He's already got Richarlison, because he got really early on that.
It's going to be interesting 37 though, isn't it? Because on FPL Twitter, you're basically going to either get people saying, well, they had doubles and all those who free hitted have done really well this week, and those people are going to be flying up in the ranks. Hopefully that'll be me and usually. But if it doesn't go well, there will just be loads of people saying, well, of course they weren't going to do well, because the teams aren't as good, and everyone's on the beach and no one's got anything to play for, and blah blah blah. But it could be absolutely massive, because if you've got people like Late Riser, somebody who normally chases upside and looks for those opportunities, I would have thought for sure he would be free hitting in 37. But I guess he likes to chase upside. Maybe this is where he's being smart and we're not, but maybe his upside is like, I'm going for City in the double and I'm going to captain one of them. And
yeah, I did doubt myself a little bit when I saw that. Excuse me. It's funny how when you sort of see the plans from someone, we've said about his confidence before, someone so bold and someone that's that good with picking early picks. And in fact, you got on Richarlison really early, and you got on Doherty the week he went off. He knows his stuff, so maybe we're all totally wrong here.
Yeah, maybe. I think it always makes me feel slightly better about things when Late Riser doesn't quite get every decision at 1,000% right, because it just makes you think, thank goodness he's not got his kind of sports almanac out. But I think he switched his captaincy. I think he had Coutinho and Salah. So when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, great, he's got the same kind of players as me, and he's considering captaining. And then he said he'd switched his captain to Salah with with a few minutes to go. So
did he? I missed that. Was that on the wire this week?
No, it was on Twitter that
right,
he tweeted out his team and said, I've switched the captaincy across. And I was just like, oh, he's doing what I'm doing. This is great.
Yeah, brilliant.
Didn't work out for either of us, and he didn't have Son either. So
yeah, it was pretty brutal. And that's part of the reason why I listened to Andy's knee jerk, because he didn't have him as well. And I was like, listening to someone in the same boat massively helps. It takes all in the stride though, Andy, doesn't it?
Especially
less
because
emotional.
Andy does this wonderful line between saying how annoyed he is, but at the same time just sounding, he just makes you seem less annoyed by it, or that he's not, even though he's saying he is, he doesn't seem that annoyed. Maybe it's what happens when you have a really successful YouTube channel. You just feel good about things. So.
Yeah. Look on the positive and take the emotion out, which is not what I'm able to do at the moment.
No.
Okay, quick look at captaincy. Rate my team as Salah highest, De Bruyne second, Mane, Trent. I mean, Son's only down there in 7th, which is maybe about right given the fixtures. Third in the captaincy poll. Other is 4th. That's interesting. I wonder who that would mostly be. Not James, Cancelo, Richarlison, Mount. Don't know who else is on the list, but it's a pretty big swing with Salah this week. You know, he's going to be maybe 160 or something %.
Yeah,
150, so it's pretty
that's
big.
the thing, isn't it? I mean, me going against him, if he goes
You're
off
cheering
big time,
him, not to do well, which is never great. In a double,
no,
that's I think one of my sort of the transfer and the captain is kind of linked, because if I want to go a bit different, I feel De Bruyne is a bit different, but if I go really different, Son in is quite different this week, I think, but Son captain would be really maverick.
Yeah, good guy to bet on though.
Son,
he's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Finishing is incredible.
Yeah, but then the flip of that is that sustainable? You know, he's that left foot strike. You know, not even his strong foot. I think he's got like 7 returns from 3 xg or something silly.
I
Whereas
just think
Kane,
he's
I think, has got
absolutely
more.
brilliant at finishing.
Yeah, xg goes out the window a bit like Vardy.
Yeah, I mean, there's apparently a documentary about him that I haven't seen yet, but his dad, who was kind of the driving force behind his training when he was young and everything, was like, right, the training starts with him going around the pitch, juggling the ball. And if he drops the ball, he has to start again.
Wow.
And, it almost sounds like child cruelty, I guess, but he would do it left foot and right foot. I mean, he's just a fantastic finisher on both feet. So
yeah,
he is going to outperform his XG because it isn't the perfect statistics.
How did you feel then with him going off, just quickly on the sort of psychology of it, but having had so many of his points, does that make you more annoyed because you're like, I've had him, I know his explosivity, if that's a word, I should have got back on it, or I've got his points, so I don't mind him going off again?
I think it was bittersweet because I love the guy because of how many points he's got me, and he's when I've captained him, he's saved my game week and everything. So whereas you, I think, have much more negative thoughts towards him because you didn't have necessarily a lot of those hauls.
Yeah.
But I absolutely love him, and yet you're right, it is bittersweet because I just thought if only I just kept him. And why did I get rid of him? Because he did so well for me. So it was definitely bittersweet. But it does make me want to get him back in. And again, maybe I've missed that haul. I've missed those points, and actually his fixtures are tough this week. And again, I think Klopp. Somebody messaged yesterday on WhatsApp and said that Klopp's not as good as Ferguson. I think Klopp's better than Ferguson, and I think he's a more rounded manager. And I think what he's done with this Liverpool team is incredible. But obviously, the longevity will I guess tell. But will he set up in exactly the same way against Spurs as they did last time? Because he's surely going to look at it and think, well, we gave them 15 chances in the first 25 minutes. And, he might get his Liverpool team to sit in deep and then ask Trent to spray balls out to the left-hand side. He might hit Spurs on the break. So maybe it is stupid to think that Liverpool won't do anything to correct for the amount of chances they were giving Son and Kane in the last game.
Yeah, true. Interesting that you were looking though on that angle of why did I get rid of Son. I thought you would just be very focused on why didn't I get him in this week, because you had that chance, and that's what my focus was on. But you're still thinking that the Mount and Havertz in was a regret.
Yeah, I do, and you're right. I could, as you said last week, the week before last, it did pay off. It wasn't as big as we would have wanted it to
Marginal,
be.
yeah,
Havertz didn't go as nuts, but I could have taken those points and run back to Son and another weaker player. But I think it's once you've made the decision to take somebody out, the idea of just going straight back to them, unless that was your original thought, it feels like going backwards. But in this season, I've been so lucky, and I've moved away from players, and then they've just stopped scoring. And obviously Son had 2 game weeks in a row where he'd blanked. One of them I had him for and the other I didn't. But yeah.
Oh, was
again,
it actually you only didn't have him for 1 week? Okay, that is quite a reversal, isn't it? You get him out and then you get him back in 1 week later. Okay, I thought you didn't have him for 2.
No, I mean if I'd gone away from him, after he'd scored the hat trick for Villa, then I think and I'd missed him for 2 blanks, you probably been like, wow, where's your sports almanac? But
Yeah.
it's rare that you transfer a player out after he's just got a hat trick, isn't it? So
yeah. Right, looking at my thoughts and team this week, I have got captain Salah at the moment and vice on Cancelo. And I've got 2.8 in the bank, 1 free transfer. Free hit is going to be played next week, so I've got to use a transfer. And I think it boils down to 4 options. Simplest one at the bottom, Havertz to Foden. That's the only one I'm thinking of with no hit. Then working up from the bottom, maybe a bit sort of simple to complex options. All of these involve Havertz out. I think I'm just getting rid. Havertz and Wood. This is the get KDB an option, but I don't get a playing forward for that. I've only got 5.2, so it'd be -4 to basically keep Weghorst up front but get KDB.
Is Mateta 5.3 now then?
Yeah, he is. Yeah. So I'd get, I don't know, maybe like a Vidra, but it's Burnley and Burnley. I don't think there's any doubles really I can get. And then Havertz and Wood to Son and Nketiah. That is probably the one I like the most because I get Son. I hopefully enjoy him for a change rather than just seeing his points fly by me. And Nketiah to instead of Weghorst is hopefully an upgrade. Or lastly, the super aggressive one, -8. This gives me City coverage and Son coverage. Havertz, Wood and Kulu. Does lose Kulu though, but it didn't help me last week. To Son, Foden, and then a 4.5 forward, which I think actually I'm on the exact money, and I don't think there are any 4.4 or below forwards now, so I might actually be priced out of that. What one do you think? Or
I think if you can let me know whether you're going to get Son or not, because I feel like if you get him, he'll definitely won't score any points.
yeah.
I actually really like the -8.
Oh God. Okay. Foden,
again,
though, I mean, he's your 6-7 point man. Are you that worried about not having him?
Sorry, about who? Sorry.
Foden, you think he's never that explosive, 6-7 points.
No, that's true. I don't think Foden is that explosive. Although I think in the last game when he got the 2 assists, he wasn't playing in the false 9, which I think is pretty important. I think when he plays false 9, he doesn't do much. And I'm sure he looks very good and he's always very good on the ball, but he'll always be receiving the ball with his back to goal, or kind of drifting left and right to create space. But they've got a good double, and I think he'll play most of the minutes. He's got as good a chance as anyone else in kind of the front 9 players who could play for City up front, or in their attack of getting points. This is the thing about City. I think I'm at the point now where I either want KDB or I don't want any of those attackers, because I think KDB is a genius and he's their best player. And even though he's not in the penalty box all the time, he's on free kicks and corners, and he can create an assist from inside his own half. He's that good. The others are all fantastic players. You just never know who's going to get any points. And I feel sorry for people who went to Sterling on wildcard a couple of game weeks ago and thought, this is a great differential. And Sterling's been incredibly explosive over the last few years, but you just never know when those players are going to get in the points. I mean, look at Bernardo Silva.
Yeah.
I fell into the Bernardo Silva trap earlier in the season where I thought, I've just got to get this guy, just keep scoring. And I think I got a few returns out of him, but then he basically stopped, and he hasn't done anything since then. And he's got goals in the Champions League and assists in the Champions League, and he just hasn't done anything in the league. And so I just don't think it's worth the risk. I mean, look at what's his name? The guy was subbing Gundogan last season. He was unbelievable, and I had him for some fantastic hauls, and he was obviously really, really cheap. But this season he hasn't done it. So it's just so difficult to predict who's going to do well. I mean, Jack Grealish could get 3 goals in this double game week. You just have no idea. So yeah. In short, I wouldn't be going for Foden, but I understand why you want City coverage. And
but then you say the -8 is the most preference. Would you not prefer the KDB for -4? And you get the top man.
Yeah, but then you're definitely playing Weghorst, aren't you?
Yeah, but you know, the best thing I could replace him with being Nketiah. Is Nketiah really going to go that much bigger than Weghorst? Maybe not.
No, and actually, no, you're right, because that -4, then you could then on the final day do KDB to Son, couldn't you, for free on?
Yeah, which I still think is pretty risky. It's easy to say now, but that Villa fixture, are you really going to get rid of KDB? Probably if you're going to captain Son, but Liverpool got Wolves, I think, haven't they? That would be difficult to ignore Salah. It's not a bold fixture, though.
I'm thinking of getting rid of Salah for the last game of the season.
Right. Well, Salah to Son.
No, because I think I'll probably have Son, but maybe Salah to KDB.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah.
I just think out of those, again, in the last day of the season, if you've only got one transfer, you're either looking at it and think, I can't make any transfers, or you look at it and say, who's going to get the most points? Salah against Wolves or KDB or Son in their fixtures. And I think, again, it will depend, but they must be getting tired, this Liverpool team. They're not going to smack, if they need to win that last game. I mean, who knows? I mean, if either of them slip up, it could be over, couldn't it, before the last game? So
yeah,
certainly if Liverpool slip up, because they're one behind, aren't they? So
it's interesting. Are you just saying this for Mark's benefit? You're really putting a downer on Liverpool here in this episode.
No. I mean, I think Liverpool are incredible, and I know Salah's incredible. I just think when these things start to get a bit sweaty, and it's it's going to be more than sweaty.
Yeah.
On the last day of the season, if they're still in it, and that's the thing, I'd rather have Salah. Although again, if they've got Champions League final, which they will have to come, does he rest players? Like if the league's gone, does he rest players for that Wolves game?
Yeah, true. I think
he probably does, because they've played as many games as they can play, so it's a good opportunity to play the kids against Wolves.
But it's a week to go. You've got to have a bit of momentum there. If it was midweek, which I think the Conference League final is, that's a bit different.
Yeah, but as in, I think you're right. I think he could beat Wolves like he beat Newcastle with resting some pretty big players. And if he just gives Salah 20 minutes at the end against Wolves, then it'll ready him for the Champions League final. Again, huge amount depends on what the state of the title race is. But if it's over, if City have won it, because Liverpool drop any points, then I think he could rest players for that Wolves game.
Yeah, maybe. City
and I could be sat there with Salah, Robertson, and maybe Trent, and thinking they're going to get benched. So
City have just scored 1-0.
Nice. Who scored?
Not sure.
It looks like they might do it then.
Right. So you are, by the sound of things, thinking Son and Trent in. Ronaldo is the cash cow, I guess. What are you thinking?
Yes. So I have obviously let it slip. I think I've got 3 potential plans, and it plays into the fears. It certainly plays into all of those fears. But the boring plan is Ronaldo to Kane, De Gea to Schmeichel for a -4. But that's the other thing. So then that means that I think, okay, well, De Gea to Schmeichel is worth a -4, right? In any plan. But I just think, given Leicester's fixtures, even though I may have Schmeichel in 37 anyway, or as you say, I could have Pickford or another. But that's the boring plan. So it gives me Kane coverage. It gives me Spurs coverage for those 2 fixtures, which even though they're tough, I do think that Kane's the only striker I could go to who's a premium striker, I think. Although Vardy is back in. I think he's played a few minutes now, hasn't he? But do you think he's too much of a risk for these games?
I wouldn't bring him in this week. Maybe Europe tomorrow will give us some clues, but I think it is a bit early.
Yeah, I think it's early as well, given that he's getting on a bit and he's really struggled to come back from injury, hasn't he? But those fixtures, 2 home games, Everton, Norwich,
is the only thing, isn't it? but they're next to each other and they've got Europe around it. If it was good fixture, Europe, good fixture, you could gamble and think, oh great, maybe play, rest, play, but he's got to play 2 in a row, like you say, just back from injury.
Yeah,
very risky.
Be interesting to see what happens in Europe, because if he plays 30 minutes or so, I mean, if he gets like 60, 70 minutes and then gets taken off and they go out, then that could be quite interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Ronaldo to Kane and De Gea to Schmeichel, and then the slightly more maverick plan would be what am I thinking here? So it was the very maverick plan is Ronaldo down to Nketiah for the Arsenal double. There is the chance that he doesn't play the Tottenham game, although I think he will, because I think Lacazette's fallen out with Arteta. And that gives me enough cash to do Mount to Son. I'd rather do Coutinho, but I can't afford it. And then White to Trent. So my back five would be Trent, James, Cancelo, Robertson, Alonso, which I think is like the strongest defense you can have.
Yeah.
And then I'd have Son instead of Mount. I don't like losing Mount because I like his last game of the season, and I think that he might well, of all the Chelsea kind of attacking assets, play the most minutes in those games. But yeah, it would mean having Son. So I actually really like that, although it is a -8, which is painful, and then it means not having Schmeichel instead of De Gea. And I think mentally, even though I do think Schmeichel is probably worth a -4 over De Gea, I think taking a -12 at this point is a bit.
Yeah, and you'd bench Dewsbury Hall with that 5-4-1, presumably.
Yeah, I'd bench Dewsbury Hall. He'd be the first bench, and I just think, although I love his fixtures, and yeah, he could annoy me and get some returns, I just don't think he's particularly attacking. So if I'm swapping Son and Trent, I'm effectively swapping Nketiah for Dewsbury Hall, aren't I? But I'm getting Son and Trent as upgrades on Mount and Ronaldo. Well, Ronaldo with one fixture.
I mean, the Trent move is tasty because he's had his rest, and Robertson might get a rest. He 12 minutes of rest last night coming off Tsimikas, but
yeah,
if they get a couple of clean sheets, you'd be loving it. If Robertson didn't make one of them.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, isn't it? Because I do think Robertson is going to miss one of those games, although I just think the Tottenham game is such a banana skin for them. I don't know whether he's going to rest him in that, but maybe I could play Dewsbury Hall over Robertson and have Robertson first bench.
No,
you wouldn't do that.
No way.
Or just because Robertson because I think Tsimikas is going to play one of those games.
I agree, but Robertson in one game, look what he's been doing. He could get 15 points. Okay, Dewsbury Hall did get that 11 or whatever it was a while back, but that was his 11 in a sea of 1s and 2s. I just, no, can't do that.
Yeah, and I guess Dewsbury Hall could also be benched for one of those games, couldn't he? So
Mount's interesting because you're right that he is less, if you had Havertz there, you'd probably, like me, just have the target on him and thinking he's got to go. But he is less of a rotation risk, and if you played 45 and 90 in those games, you might get something. So it is a shame you can't do Coutinho.
I know it is a shame, and that's the thing. If I could, I think if I could do Coutinho instead of Mount, I'd probably be jumping at that move. I'd probably be, even though it's a -8, I'd be jumping at it. But the other potential option is Ronaldo down to Jesus and then Mount to KDB.
Oof, nice. That's
which
nice.
I can do with 0.1 in the bank, and wow. And that's the other thing I like about that is I could then do KDB to Son on the last day.
Yeah.
Or I could do Salah to Son on the last day. But the thing there is, you think I'd have that on the last day. I have 2 million in the bank, and I don't really like the idea of taking -4 on the last day. So
agreed. But sorry, what would be the problem there? KDB to Son on the last day, you wouldn't need a -4.
Well, no, like if I did Salah to Son on the last day, I'm
right.
there with a decent chunk of change in the bank. And yeah, I don't really want to take, and I don't think there's anyone else I'd really want to get. So I think the choice is because I took Trent out at 31 and I haven't really been hurt by him at all. And I just feel like he's due something. And I think this double, when he's had his rest, and if he plays this double, and obviously if Robertson doesn't, I mean, I could move any of that back line, really. Maybe not Alonso, but I could move any of the back line to Trent relatively easily. But I'm talking about moving White to Trent and giving and benching Dewsbury Hall. So those are the three potential plans. And obviously, you see in the fears, you've got not having Spurs. I could solve that with having Son. not having enough City. I could solve that with KDB and Jesus. And then hits not working. There are definitely going to be some hits. So
why stop now? What about if you
now?
didn't go Trent but went Matip or Van Dijk? That gives you the money, gives you the coverage, or even Alisson. That also solves your goalkeeper problem. Not sure
that's a great shout actually. I guess Alisson is he'll be $1 million more only than De Gea, but it's just if Trent bangs in a free kick or gets a couple of assists. That's the thing, isn't it? I mean, because you say Matip, but Cunyate's come into the team now, hasn't he? And he's kind of playing. I think he played the Villarreal game, which suggests that he's first choice, doesn't it? So
I think that just seemed to be a perfect cup rotation. Matip's played loads of Prem games, and Konate seems to be the cup man. But yeah, maybe they're going to give a bit more minutes. And Alisson, although it's guaranteed, 2.5 mil is quite a lot. But like you say, Trent could get 20 points easy. Alisson's unlikely to. So but Van Dijk maybe that's a decent saving, and Van Dijk could get a headed goal.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember. I think it might have been Andy in his deadline stream was saying, or in his knee-jerk stream was saying, Robertson's just caught up with Van Dijk.
Oh, in points this season.
Yeah, which is absolutely mad, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah,
I don't understand how that works because I don't remember Van Dijk getting any big hauls, but
yeah, that's the only thing I can think. Because unless Robertson's had a period out, then maybe Van Dijk has had quite a few headers.
Yeah, but no, they're good. They're good alternatives. I just think Trent is the one, isn't he? So
the only other option is you could do Ronaldo down to a 4.5, and then that also gets rid of your money problem. That does mean playing Weghorst, but then you could do, I don't know, could you then do Coutinho to KDB and Dewsbury Hall to
Son? No, I don't think so. I think if I went Ronaldo down to non-playing, all it does is it gives me another, is it 0.9 or it might be $1 million over Nketiah. And so I think what it does is it allows me to do Coutinho to Son instead of Mount to Son.
Okay, yeah.
In that move. But I just think Nketiah with his double and the amount of chances he's getting, and again, because it's not just for 36s, it's for the last day of the season. And I can't remember who Burnley have got on the last day. I'm sure you can tell me, Mr. Shlee.
Newcastle.
Yeah, it's not terrible. And who've
decent.
Arsenal have got Everton at home. That's the thing, right? And I know Everton are going to be fighting for their lives, but Arsenal could, they could already be down, or Arsenal could put them down, and then Nketiah could get a couple of goals. I think it's not worth it for Mount over Coutinho. I mean, Coutinho he's still a fantastic player. So that's the other thing. It means I need to look very carefully at the last day of the season because I don't really want to be playing Coutinho against City. So what would you go for? Ronaldo to Kane.
I don't like that. I don't like Kane. No. Maybe just the Stark. I haven't had Son. You'd be mad with those swings recently, but I think it was Gianni was saying like shots in the box or XG or something. They've been very similar, and Son's the elite finisher, but Kane has been quite unlucky.
Yeah, and it's difficult to argue that Kane isn't as good a finisher as Son, right?
Yeah, and form is important. So obviously Son's absolutely on it. He's maybe still chasing the golden boot, and maybe if Liverpool can't figure it out, Son will just be spraying the passes, and Son's going to go, try and get him on the counter over the top. So I don't really like that. I don't know. I think maybe you're focusing a bit on the fact that De Gea has not got a double, and I'm not sure if I prioritise a keeper transfer here. I just think -8 might be a bit of a stretch, but I can't argue with the upgrade. If you are going to get Son for Mount, White going up to Trent, that is pretty nice, and then Nketiah is a cheap double option. It could work out. So I don't know.
Yeah, but that is, even without a De Gea transfer, that is a -8.
Yeah, true. I think what I'm saying is I probably wouldn't take a hit for a keeper unless those rotate really badly. What have you got? Dubravka and De Gea. I mean, next week United haven't got one. Newcastle have got Arsenal. Not great.
I'll be free hitting next week anyway.
Oh, of course. Sorry. Yeah, last game of the season, they're both away. Palace and Burnley. So it's not too bad.
No, you're right. I think if I take there's no way I can take a -12. I think that's just too much.
Agreed.
And United could fluke a clean sheet against Brighton. There aren't that many Brighton assets you think of as getting goals. So
yeah,
that would be nice.
But yeah, I think Ronaldo being the cash cow is totally sensible. And yeah, I do like it when transfers are based on a feeling. Someone like Trent exploding, that could be possible. And doubling up could be pretty cool. And maybe those games, if they are 1-0 tight, if Liverpool are getting the title nerves, they could be 2-3s for Salah, but 4-6s for Trent and Robbo.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I definitely think Liverpool will concede against Spurs, and so it's strange that I'm trying to get Trent in. But right. I think it's just how attacking he is, and the fact that he hasn't. I've obviously I've noticed since I've not had him that he hasn't been going nuts, and so it's like, is he due a couple of assists, or is he due a free kick goal or something? Like, I know it doesn't work like that, but I think not owning him for this double, when a lot of people will have him, getting him in could be a really, really nice blocker, but also a bit of a sword against those who. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's a bit of a boring move, really. I'm taking a -8 to get a player in that almost everyone else has got already.
Well, they haven't though. Looking at this, unless this is wrong, and it would feel, he blanked, didn't he? So he would just show up as red. He's not 30% owned in the top 10k, so he is quite a differential.
That's very strange, though, isn't it?
Yeah, we might need to check that, but according to this,
yeah, because I think on my it might just be because he didn't play a minute, did he?
Yeah, but then De Bruyne shows up as a 0. Oh, hang on, but then De Bruyne's not in this list either. I still thought that 0s showed up on this.
Because I think that Trent, I'm pretty sure that when I look at my live FPL, kind of when the game week ticks over, he is around kind of 95%, 90% or something.
Okay, yeah.
I wonder whether he is there. He's just because he didn't play a single minute.
Yeah, he's been filtered out. That would make sense from the KDB point of view as well.
Yeah.
But then maybe KDB is less than 30%. Anyway, yeah. So
well, I've got it here. I mean, we can look overall. The overall game, he's 38% selected by, and that would suggest in the top 10k is going to be pretty high.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think his scores since I've taken him out 0-4-6-5, 0 against Newcastle. So I don't know. I think I'm leaning much more towards that. And
well,
and then
get a feeling for someone, then you should go with that.
Yeah. Would you potentially do Ronaldo down to a non-playing forward and have De Bruyne instead of Mount?
No, I don't think so. I think
you'd have
Mount's quite a keep.
Ketia.
Yeah, if you're saying that you want Son more than KDB, then why would you go Mount to KDB?
Well, I think it's also. I mean, I'd rather have if all things being equal, I'd rather have KDB for this double. But I think that again, I am going to want to make that transfer on the last day, and if I don't make that transfer, I can maybe do Salah to KDB for free on the last day if I think the game state is such that it warrants it.
Okay.
Interesting. Well, thank you for that. I'll have a look and see what going Ronaldo down to a non-playing striker does, and I'll have a look and see what going De Gea to Alisson does. Although I don't think I'll be doing that. But that is useful.
Yeah, or maybe White to Van Dijk, but don't think you were short on that option.
No, but I haven't owned I had Van Dijk quite a lot of that season where he got over 200 points, where kind of all three of them got over 200 points, and he was amazing that season, but he just hasn't massively been on my radar this season.
Yeah. Well, we were at one point looking under an hour, but just over, which is pretty decent.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, sorry, it was my numerous potential transfer plans, and in fact, we both had it. We both had a few transfer plans. So
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. Yeah, we're at the end. Thank you very much for listening, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. We'll be back next week to talk free hits, all being well. Hope I'll be feeling a bit better, and Nick will be COVID-free in his household. Anything to add, Nick?
No, just to wish you well, Mr. Shlee, and very best of luck for the game week. And yeah, it's just getting pretty scary now because we've only got 3 left, and anything could happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And this is, I keep sort of sanity checking the position you're in. 3 game weeks to go, nearly top 1k is pretty mad. Hopefully it'll happen again, but this is pretty squeaky bum time for you as well, isn't it? It could.
No, I know, and
very
that's
good
what I was
finish.
thinking when Son was returning, that I might not be in this lucky position again, and so it'd be a real shame to kind of fall the wrong side of that coin. But yeah, it's right there. Let's go and take it.
Cool. Thanks everyone. See you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.